The scanner had never lied before. Dr. Kale Veyron had used the Meridian 9 biospectral analyzer on over 4,000 patients across 6 species. It had catalogued the triple hearts of Virati diplomats. It had mapped the distributed nervous systems of the Cyrac hivewalkers. It had once, memorably, detected a crystalline parasite the size of a grain of sand nested between the 8th and 9th cerebral lobes of a Thalvine elder. The Meridian 9 did not make mistakes. So when it returned no cardiac signal detected for the human sitting calmly on the examination table, the human who was very clearly alive, breathing, and currently reading a small paper book she had pulled from her jacket, Dr. Kale Veyron set his data slate down and stared at her for a long moment. "Miss Vera," he said carefully. Lara Vera looked up. She had brown eyes, which he had read about but never seen in person. The literature described them as warm, a word he had not understood in a biological context until this moment. "Doctor," she replied. Her voice was unhurried. "The scanner is indicating that you have no heartbeat." She tilted her head slightly. "And yet here I am." "Yes." He picked up the scanner wand and passed it over her chest again. The readout blinked the same result. "Here you are." Lyra closed her book, marking the page with her thumb. She glanced at the monitor and seemed genuinely curious rather than alarmed, which was itself alarming to Dr. Kale Veyron, because the monitor also currently showed that her internal temperature was 45 degrees Celsius. Her bone density was 3 times the galactic standard baseline for humanoids her size, and her resting lung capacity was sufficient to sustain her without breathing for approximately 4 minutes. He had assumed those readings were also errors. He was beginning to reconsider that. "My heart rate is low when I'm at rest," Lyra offered helpfully. "It usually runs around 40 beats per minute. Some athletes go lower." Dr. Kale Veyron looked at the scanner. Galactic standard resting cardiac rate was between 90 and 120 beats per minute, depending on species. His own was 104. 40, he repeated. Sometimes 38. She shrugged. "My grandmother could get to 32. She was a marathon runner." He pulled up her intake form. Under planet of origin it read, Earth. Gravity, 9.8 meters per square second. Atmospheric oxygen, 21%. Classification, Death World, Category 4. He had processed the paperwork himself. He had not, at the time, fully appreciated what Category 4 meant. "Miss Vera," he said, setting the wand down and pulling a stool close to the examination table. He was a scientist. He believed in direct inquiry. "I would like to ask you some questions, if that is acceptable." "Sure," she said, and opened her book again. He decided to interpret that as a yes. "The initial weapons scan," he began, "came back positive. It came back extremely positive." He pulled up the readout on his data slate and turned it toward her. The Meridian 9 had flagged, in order, her fingernails, keratin composite, potential cutting implement, her teeth, enamel hardness exceeds titanium grade threshold, potential crushing/tearing weapon, her leg musculature, explosive contractile force estimated at 800 to 1,000 newtons per limb, potential impact weapon, her grip strength, category, industrial, and her jaw, bite force, 1,300 newtons, flagged as extreme danger. Please contact security. Lyra glanced at the list. The corner of her mouth moved upward. "Did you contact security?" she asked. "I did not," he said. "Because I recognized that these are simply your natural features." "Yep. You were born with them. On a planet where everything was also trying to eat me, so." She turned a page. "It's a whole thing." Dr. Kale Veyron was quiet for a moment. He looked at this small, quietly reading creature. She was small by human standards, he had checked, barely average height, slender build, and tried to reconcile her with the data in front of him. "The temperature reading," he said. 45 degrees Celsius. I run hot. I did a long hike this morning. Uphill. On the station. They have a gravity simulation deck. 12% grade, for kilometers. She paused. I went twice. He looked at her resting respiratory rate. 8 breaths per minute. On the monitor it looked almost like a flatline. Your species, he said slowly, evolved on a death world. Where the gravity was nearly 10 meters per second squared. Still is. Where the apex predators regularly exceeded 500 kilograms. Some of the big ones topped 1,000, she said. The oceans were worse. And your species survived. Lyra finally looked up from her book. She regarded him with those warm brown eyes, and there was something in them that was not quite amusement and not quite patience, something older and quieter than either. We didn't just survive, she said. We went to the top. Dr. Cale Veyron thought about the scanner. He thought about 40 beats per minute, and 12% grade double laps, and bite force classified as extreme danger by a machine that had never once been wrong. How, he asked. The word came out smaller than he intended. She considered the question seriously. He appreciated that she did not laugh, did not dismiss it. She thought about it the way someone thinks about a thing they have never had to explain before because it simply is. Endurance, she said finally. We can run for hours. Most predators can't, they're sprinters. We just outlasted them. She paused. And we used tools. And we cooperated. And we were stubborn. Stubborn, he repeated. We don't quit. She said it simply, like a fact of physics. It's actually kind of a problem sometimes. We get an idea in our heads and we don't stop. Some people call it stupidity. It's kind of both. He thought about human history, which he had studied briefly before her arrival, because the Interstellar Medical Consortium required cultural familiarization for all Category 4 world contacts. He had read about a species that had, within the span of roughly 300,000 years, gone from being prey animals hiding in trees to landing on other worlds. He had thought the timeline was a translation error. It was not a translation error. There is one more thing I need to note, Dr. Cale Veyron said, pulling up the final flagged item on the scanner readout. Lyra glanced up. The Meridian 9 identifies your adrenal response as a threat. He turned the screen toward her. It read, anomalous biochemical surge detected, adrenaline/cortisol cascade, warning, subject may enter hyperperformance state under stress, advise caution. Lyra read it. Read it again. Your scanner, she said slowly, is warning you that I might get an adrenaline rush. Under stress. Yes. And it flagged that as a weapon. It flagged it as a potential threat to examiner safety. She was quiet for a moment. Then Lyra Vera put her book down on the examination table, and she laughed. It was not a polite laugh, it was a real one, full and unguarded, the kind that takes over the whole body. Dr. Cale Veyron observed that when she laughed, her shoulders shook, her eyes creased nearly shut, and her teeth, her enamel harder than titanium teeth, showed completely. The scanner beeped. Subject displaying elevated effect, possible PRE aggression indicator. It's still going, he said. I know, she managed. I know, I'm sorry. Advise maintaining safe distance. Miss Vera. I'm fine, she said, wiping her eye. I'm fine. I'm not going to, I'm laughing, not, she looked at the scanner. Tell your machine I'm not a threat. I don't believe it would find that reassuring, coming from you. She looked at him. He looked at her. After a moment, Dr. Cale Veyron reached over and switched the scanner to manual override. The warning lights went dark. In the silence that followed, Lyra's heartbeat finally appeared on the monitor, slow, steady, and impossibly calm. 41 beats per minute. Even after laughing. even with an alien doctor staring at her like she was a puzzle he wasn't sure he was allowed to solve. He wrote in his report, later that evening. Patient, Lara Vera. Species, human. World of origin, Earth, Death World, Category 4. Health status, excellent. Threat level assessed by Meridian 9, extreme. Threat level assessed by examiner, moderate. Notes: the Meridian 9 was not wrong. It simply lacked context. Recommend all medical staff familiarize themselves with Death World Category 4 biology before intake. Recommend, further, that we do not rely on the weapons scanner alone. Humans are, in every biological sense, a weapon. They are also, in every other sense I have so far observed, quite all right. He paused. Added. She recommended a book. I have ordered a copy.